Well, you can tell it's been summer holidays, can't you? We've all been busy with, like, we've each been away a week in a row. And,
classic, isn't it?
Been unable to organise ourselves sufficiently.
Well, where did you go anywhere, Tripp?
Yeah, I went to Wales for a week, and then I right at the start of August, like the first week. So yeah, first week of August, I was in Wales, and then one of you guys went away for a week, and then the other one went away for a week. And it's just been one thing after the other, hasn't it?
So you went to Wales, and then I went to Centre Parks.
Up by me.
What's that?
Up by me. Did you go to Sherwood Forest one?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I thought you said not with you. I thought you said not. But
you didn't go
with me, and I was just like,
how could you?
Well, I mean, like as we're going, I really do consider you to, part of the family, because you see my wife walk by with the ironing board, which is most.
It's true. She just did.
Yeah, she did, and that's most. Yeah. You see more than most friends ironing, but. I thought, man, maybe not this year, Simon. We'll
next.
Are you going to go on a joint family holiday to Centre Parks?
Yeah, come on, Tripp, you'll come along.
Sherwood Forest up by me. And then,
I guess so. I'll end up babysitting the kids though.
Oh, you don't want that.
Yeah,
you might take your offer up.
Kate would. She loves babysitting kids, so we get stuck doing.
That's the first step, man. It's a slippery slope from there.
Yeah, I've realised that kids holidays with children is definitely one for the kids to remember, because
it's not relaxing holiday.
You certainly take work off to go and have a really busy time to come back and go, well, I hope they like that, because that was bloody hard. I need a holiday just from that.
We
where did you go,
solved that slightly. We went camping in the Cotswolds, and it was quite a safe campsite. There was lots of space. We went with some friends who also have children similar age to ours.
What do you mean safe? Unless you're Bear Grylls, what sort of camping?
Not next to a cliff or anything.
We gave the volcano a miss.
Yeah,
as in we could let the children go a little bit feral and play without really worrying too much about where they were, because it was quite open. We could see where they were, and we could get on the beers by the campfire while they were all running around. So that was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh wow! There you go. That was so. We've been on holiday, everyone.
Now everyone's all caught up on our holidays. Way.
Yeah, there you go. And it's been Road to National season, which is
that's been
so good. It's been so good.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
So, I've been quite lax on it. I've only been to one. I've only signed up for two anyway, so I'm halfway there. So, what about you, Tripp?
I've been to 4.
You've been to 4, or you signed up to 4?
I've been to 4. So I've been to Geek Retreat, London, Manascrew, Darksphere, London, and Trinity Card Capital, Newcastle. And the last one is Living Realms. I'm not going to Glasgow, even though there seems to be a big push currently for everyone to go to Glasgow the day after Living Realms. But yeah, that's a bit beyond me, I think. So
yeah,
it's been busy. So every weekend since I got back from Wales, it's been an RTN. So this weekend is my only weekend off. I'm still doing a tournament, but I'm not doing an RTN. So.
Great. Well, how many did you sign up to, Simon?
So I am 2 down, 1 to go. 3
2
total.
Down, 1 to go. Right,
2 down, 1 to go. So I went to Manascrew, which was the second Road to Nationals in the UK, and that was an experience. And then I went to Bash. Yeah.
Manascrew, man! I had to, give you a shoulder to cry on, didn't I?
Yeah, so I tilted pretty hard, having not had the start I wanted to the day, and it was a good lesson in tournament sort of longevity. I didn't have I went 3-3. Didn't feel like I played my best, but enjoyed the day. There were loads of great people there. Manascrew's a great shot. Mark's a great host, and just got too up in my own head and learned a lot about how to go into the next one I went to, and did a lot better.
Before we get stuck into Road to Nationals chat, should we reveal what we're drinking tonight? Because I feel like we're going to get stuck aren't we?
Before we reveal that, because Mark mentioned Manascrew, I just wanted to do one little good shout out, right, to Tabletop 24 for their absolute quality stream, right? And they were very kind to let me represent the Push the Point podcast on what I call an advert, because he literally pre-recorded loads of different segments of box openings and stuff, just as little things as filler in between games, because he said there's nothing worse than seeing "we'll be right back" and you just don't know how long that is, so he just put some adverts in, and we were featured. I don't know if you guys knew.
I did not know that.
No.
I did, because I was recorded for 3 of those games, so I got to know the guys pretty well, and they are really, really nice, and they've shared some footage with us, which we may be able to use for the background of this podcast, very possibly. So you might be seeing that in the background right now.
Anyway, should we reveal the drinks?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's been 3 weeks and 3 days. Who goes first?
It's normally. I thought it was Simon. No, it is you, Hamish. You go.
Oh,
first.
It is me.
I definitely go last. But...
Oh no!
Big
Simon usually goes. Oh no, you're the
no.
wild
It's always
card.
me.
I think I'm actually out wilding you today.
I think you might
Tripp.
be today.
Yeah, I think so today, because tonight, gents, because I can't qualify a road to nationals. I have decided to put 2 drinks together because I don't have many options, and I've got Southern Comfort.
Oh, nice.
With an appetizer.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Simon's literally had a face of, what the hell is this?
What is that?
That is a proper redneck drink, isn't it? I mean,
It's like a apple.
I'm going to call this. We've got 2 names, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the Southern Apple, or an apple comfort. That's original, right?
That's the shittiest thing ever.
That sounds dodgy.
I'm just going to use apple.
Yeah, I thought the second one was going to be more clever, but it was just
I've got a better
terrible
one.
as
I've got a
the
better
first.
one. A Southernizer.
Should be Southernizer. Yeah.
A Southernizer sounds
A
original.
Comfortiser.
Have you ever had a
Comfortiser? That's amazing. See, that's good.
That's good. I like that. Have you ever had a Jungle Meister?
No.
We're
What's that?
still talking about jinx now. Or what?
Yeah. A Jungle Meister is, Jägermeister with tropical juice, and I have to say it's really nice. It looks like
Vomit.
it looks like a pond, but it tastes like honey. Anyway, am I drinking this now, or am I? We're going to reveal just so you can see what do we call it? A Comfortiser.
A Comfortiser.
Comfortiser. Okay.
Oh.
All right, go on, Simon.
So I've got something I picked up on my camping trip.
Sorry, this is nice.
A stateside session IPA by Buckham Brewing Company down
Lovely.
in the Cotswolds, Bristol, actually. It's a 4.2% session IPA brewed with Centennial hops. It's quite nice.
Very nice.
I've already seen what Tripp's drinking. I'm impressed.
Sorry, Tripp.
So mine's on brand. So after my new favourite Flesh and Blood card, which is Ghostly Visit Red, which is a great card, by the way, if you're playing ship.
Oh, okay.
I have a Ghost Ship. Just a bottle of Adnam's Ghost Ship.
Big fan of Adnam's. Big fan.
Do you put Lunatide Plunderer in your deck?
No, because it's shit, mate. I thought Ghostly Visit Red was shit, and everyone was saying it's shit, but actually, it's a great card.
No, it's well good,
and I love it.
Right? Can I just give
what
you a
have
bit
you
of
just
an
done?
update?
Why is your face like that?
So I'll just give you a bit of I'll give you a bit of an update on this Comfortiser.
Yeah, you said it was tasty, but your face doesn't look like someone who is enjoying.
He's not drinking it anymore. He's smelling it.
No, it smells like vomit, but it doesn't.
Oh
no,
man!
But
it's not the one, is it? Do you not have any Coca-Cola or anything?
No, it tastes all right. It's basically just a very strong appetizer.
It doesn't look like it tastes all right.
What do you mean? looks like something you're saying. Oh, I haven't got any ice. That's my problem.
I was going to say, you haven't even got any ice in it.
A bit warm.
You see,
you're just such a thug.
All right, okay. I am stretching this a little bit out here. I mean, seriously, all right. No, I can't.
Right, Dan and I are going to start talking about what's going on this podcast because.
So what's
some of us
a bag of rice.
Some of us were prepared
for today's Simon.
So, as you've already guessed, we're going to start talking a bit about Road to Nationals. We've had 5 of the 7 UK events so far. We're going to move on and talk a bit about Nationals because we had a big announcement this week about UK Nationals. We may have some interviews for you with some very special guests, and I'm looking forward to hearing those immensely.
Yeah, some RTN winners, so that should be pretty hype.
Special guests, and then we might just finish off with a bit of a chat about some Tales of Aria spoilers that have already come out. We've had 3 cards spoiled so far, and there's been a lot of theory crafting already about where things are going with that set. So.
Yeah, I think that'll be good to finish up on, just because the new set's coming out. I mean, it feels like Monarch's been out for 5 minutes and the next set's coming out already. I mean, it hasn't, but it feels that way.
I get why we all feel like that, because actually there were delays upon delays for first edition and then unlimited. Yeah. And by the time the cards actually got here, it was pretty much Road to National season and then, Skirmish season and then Road to National season. Everything's felt quite condensed over the summer holidays.
Yeah.
And now we're 3 weeks away from Tales of Aria pre-release. I can't believe it.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's chat about RTNs. So Simon, you were talking about the Manascrew one.
Yeah.
But you went to one after that, didn't you? After the Manascrew?
Yeah, so went to a bit more local to me. I mean, Manascrew's not far away, but Boards and Swords, Hobbies and Derby ran a fantastic event. 40 players turned up, and it was a long day. I think it was a 10 a.m. start, and we finished about 7 o'clock in the evening. 6 rounds of Swiss. Top 8 went obviously 3 rounds, and we had lunch provided, breaks when needed.
Man, a little mini pizza.
Yeah, a little pizza from Domino's, individual for every player. And some really, I mean, similar to Manascrew, the guys at Boards and Swords know how to treat their customers and their players. So there were participation packs for everyone that turned up, first edition Monarch. And the LSS prizes were pretty sweet as well. In fact, I don't think I've seen a different cold foil aura. I think every UK one has had the cold foil Merciful Retribution so far.
Yeah, I think that was what
I think so.
Doing, right?
No, but there are multiple cold foil auras. It's just the UK seems to have, everyone's got the same one.
Yeah.
Well, I've only been able to get one. Humble brag.
All right, humble brag. Oh, I've placed in the top 8 too many times.
So, but
do you not get one if you place?
No,
it's a real issue.
It's only 9th to 32nd that gets the cold foil. But I mean, it is a strange choice by LSS to not give those cold foil auras to the top 8 as well. I do find that strange.
Yeah, I think at first I was enough. Like it was, but you get the cold foil heroes, and the cold foil heroes are okay.
I mean, that is true.
I mean, and I don't really play Prism, so I mean, if I played Prism, I'd probably be a bit more annoyed.
Who plays Prism, man? Prism's trash.
No one here plays Prism, so Prism's all right.
So interestingly, the 2 big events at Bash that Hamish and I have both played in, we've placed in exactly the same places both times, right?
Simon.
Yeah.
I'm not saying where you placed. I'm just saying that we both placed in exactly the same spot.
Place. So it was the same as the last one. No.
Yeah.
Long-time listeners will be able to work this one out.
Yeah.
If you listen to episode 9, but he came 9th, and I got steaming. I've got loser problems, haven't I? I'll come back from every event.
9th is nothing to be ashamed of.
9th is great. I came 9th
on a 40-person field during the top 25%. So. Do you know what I have found interesting is following each UK Road to Nationals event, it's been really hard to pin down a meta. I don't think, apart from the prevalence of chain,
and Katsu.
I don't. Well, no, because there have been
been
events where there've only been 2 or 3 Katsus. So apart from there being a lot of chain, there's been real variations in how many prism. Like the first one, there were loads of prism. After that, they've been falling away. There's been a few events with 4 or 5 Katsus.
Is this UK or just overall?
In the UK.
UK,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So at Trinity Card Capital, which was the last one I went to, there was barely any Katsus.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a Katsu in the top 8. I could be wrong. I don't.
There
think
wasn't,
there
no.
was. Normally there's 1 or 2, and I didn't play any in the Swiss, but at other events there's loads of Katsu, especially aggro Katsu. There's barely any control Katsu in the UK. I think there's
so I just think it's been
one
interesting.
player who's taking it, but
there's been really hard to pin down a meta. In the Bash event, for example, there were 3 Boltons in the top 10.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the best time to play Bolton because the most scary chain players, yourself included, Tripp, and a couple of others, were not about that day.
We weren't there,
so it was one of the harder matchups that Bolton wants to face. It was the best opportunity to perform, and obviously it was a good medical overall in that event. And then the poor 2 Bolton players just got gatekeeped by the second worst matchup, which is Dorinthia.
Yeah,
so,
there was a few Dorinthias, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
that was really tricky.
Yeah, that was. If there was anyone else, if there was like even the aggro Katsu, I reckon one would have slipped into top 4. But that's tournaments.
But so far, Tripp and myself, we've both been very fortunate to qualify for nationals.
Yeah, I think Road to Nationals has been such a good opportunity for the UK community to actually meet each other.
It's been really
people
cool,
that
actually.
can travel around have been traveling around, and it's been really good. And I just wanted to say I've really enjoyed all the Road to Nationals that I've been to, but that Trinity Card Capital one on Saturday was just so great. Because we used to play in the Trinity Card Capital
every Friday
Friday night, Armory, every single Friday for 3 months, 4 months even, playing Blitz, the same people, and now all those people are some of the best players in the UK community and are now playing all the time. And it just felt like we were playing Trinity Card Capital again, but in real life, and it was just so nice to see some of those people there. So really fantastic time. Big shout out to the store for putting that on. It was just really, really good. And now we're just waiting for Living Realms in 2 weeks' time, or less than 2 weeks' time now, which is going to be a big 64-person Road to Nationals, probably the biggest
sold out,
tournament the UK's seen.
I call it pre-nationals.
Yeah, and it is. It really is, and it's going to be a really interesting one.
Especially now, because we know that Living Realms will be hosting the UK Nationals on the 29th, 30th and 31st of October.
Oh, yes.
So we've got that coming up. And Living Realms 64-player event, it's going to be huge. That's as you say, it's the biggest UK event for Flesh and Blood so far, let alone Road to Nationals. Just a quick shout out, because we're going to have our competition at Living Realms Road to Nationals. So the highest placed Azalea and the highest placed Viserai will win their alternate art hero cards, kindly provided by Protect Cards. And I think it really will be as mixed and diverse a showing as we will see at Nationals in October.
I swear, I'll just be labelled ninth, Mr. Ninth,
Mr. Bubble.
Mr.
Bubble Man.
Bubble Boy.
Now, as well as the Living Realms Road to Nationals and their hosting Nationals, we are so close now to the final part of our giveaway from sponsored by Living Realms, which is our Crazy Brew. We're at just over 150 subscribers. We've got less than 20 to go.
So close.
Literally less than 20. Come on, there's got to be 20 people that likes us.
If only we hadn't have decided
like and
to
subscribe
make a joke of getting to... Was it 169?
169?
That is it, right? Yeah. It was originally 150, which we have got to. But we decided
Hamish
to go
went for the meme. Like and subscribe, and then you might be in a chance. Like, subscribe, and comment even, and then you'll be in with a chance of winning a Cold 4 Crazy Bro promo card. Do it.
Absolutely.
Do it now. Do it now.
Go on, I'm just gonna, before we go into the interview section.
Before we go into the interviews, can we just quickly talk about Nationals?
I was going to tell you that my drink is pure shit and I've got a headache, so I'm moving on now. to a very easy Carlsberg.
Carlsberg. You should have just drunk that from the start.
Cheeky Carlsberg.
You gotta for the viewers.
I thought you didn't have any beers. I was like, why would you be drinking Southern Comfort and Appetizer? Oh, he's probably just got no beers in the house.
Wildcard
He's had a
Tripp.
No, I didn't. I sat down for. I don't think this can of Carlsberg is going to be enough. So
being a wild card, it's not as easy as it looks. You think you can just throw two drinks together and be in a wild card? No, it takes weeks of preparation to come up with.
No, it doesn't. Not for me. It takes minutes of preparation because I don't have any lemonade. I don't have anything.
Come up with the Comfortiser.
What about the appetizer? Will that work? And she went, so I thought, I'm not going to crack open this Carlsberg. I'll give this a go. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back to Carlsberg. And if Carlsberg finishes, I'm just going to drink.
Right. This is why you come 9th in tournaments, because you make bad life choices. That's why.
Because I don't commit.
Directly into the mic.
I'm really sorry, everyone, if you heard that. But I've actually freaked out. I thought I heard I don't know. I just basically was just hearing two cats screaming at each other outside my house.
Oh, we didn't hear that.
No, thank God. Well, sorry. Oh, I'm scared.
I thought you were having. Is this appetizer going to your head, mate? Are you all right?
Is he actually drinking absinthe?
Is
he hallucinating?
Oh my God! I feel like we're merging into an interview.
Is that is not the transition for the interview?
You get out. You get out now. Hi. So welcome everybody back to Push the Point. My name's Simon, and I'm here today with Mark, who was the first UK Road to Nationals winner all the way back on the 7th of August at Geek Retreat, London, Holloway. Nice to see you, Mark.
Hi, Simon. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. And we're just going to run through a few questions then. Obviously, being the first winner of a UK Road to Nationals in Flesh and Blood ever, that's a pretty special place to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like it's the first Road to Nationals. It was like one of the first proper competitive events that we've had in the UK. We've obviously all this COVID and all this lockdown and everything. This has been the first real taste of competitive Flesh and Blood that we've gotten into, so it's pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with myself.
I think you should be. I think there were over 30 competitors on the day. You had 5 rounds of Swiss and then a top 8 cup.
6 rounds of Swiss and cut top 8. Yeah,
amazing. Well, congratulations. Firstly, take us back to before the event. Like, how did you prepare in the run-up to this this competitive season, Road to National season?
Cool. So my preparation is a bit of backstory. You might be able to tell by my accent, but I'm from New Zealand, and I have a big crowd of friends who play in New Zealand. They will be testing during the evenings. I will be jumping on Discord with them, talking to them, jumping in a few games, just talking constantly with them about their testing process, their metagame, kind of their deck choices. The obviously different metagames are going to be happening between the New Zealand scene and the UK scene.
Yeah.
And also, we don't have a metagame yet. Like this is number one. This was kind of going in blind. And we had a couple of things that we were kind of looking at. I think what floated to the top was either what floated to the top was either you had to play chain or beat chain.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. I think the decks that early in the picture, the decks that we were thinking could beat chain were Bravo and Dash.
Mm-hmm.
Very controlling builds of both of them. We're talking Dash with 6 defense reacts, 3 sigils with snags, and you still try and do like a big high up game turn to put them under some pressure, but generally speaking, you're trying to just kind of stop them from being too nasty. But I had more experience on chain, and so I just kind of went for chain in the end.
So your prep was maybe a bit turbocharged by some friends back in New Zealand. That's pretty cool. I think that's a great resource to have available to you. So Are there any names that you might want to drop in there, or are you going to keep Sturm?
Well, I mean, I'm very close friends with Rohan Khanna. He's probably been floating around a few top eights in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I think he's got a PTI under his belt. And Jordan Fussell Nelson. So I've been playing quite a few games with him as well.
Ever the meme.
Ever the meme. Big mouth himself.
Yeah.
So no, there's some good players in that group chat. So blessed to be there.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks for giving us a bit of insight. And you mentioned chain, and it came down to B chain or beat chain, which I think is fairly consistent with what we've seen in our burgeoning metagame so far. Tell us a bit, if you can, about your chain build and what you were trying to achieve with that.
So the chain build I went with was largely worked on by a friend, Tom Penny. The goal of the build was to beat control decks. We went with 4 Seeping Shadows and a bunch of extra Demigons, and the idea was to go exceptionally wide against control decks. So a stag isn't going to catch us out. The idea is that we can go wider rather than taller. Yeah. And so with things like Unhallowed Rites, you can get back Howls from Beyond and Seeping Shadows, load the bottom of your deck with a bunch of good stuff. In the final turns of your game, you're kind of looking at pitching some blues, doing 4 or 5 attacks off Seeping Shadows and Howls to kind of put them over the top, so you can push through that last bit of damage without having to rely on a big Riftbind turn.
So big cards like the Howl, obviously adding +3, and the Seeping Shadows +1 go again, but resource intensive at the same time. Yeah.
So but we had I think I went with 2 yellow Seeping Shadows actually at the end. So maybe even 5 Seeping Shadows, and being able to just go Seeping Shadows even into a Enlightened Strike and drawing the card off the Enlightened Strike. So it's getting go again. It's coming in for 6, but it's kind of replacing itself. So it becomes a less resource intensive and still a threatening attack.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of plunder runs in there, or
you got to have 3 plunder runs. You've always got to have 3
plunder runs.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how did you feel going into the event with that deck? How did you expect to do on the day?
So I had a lot of reps in playing the deck, but not necessarily the reps against the right matchups or matchups across the board. So it was more the case I was comfortable playing chain, comfortable sequencing chain, and it's a deck that you get so much information all of a sudden that every turn is just like a flood of okay, what am I going to do? I was kind of used to that. I do think that chain is sometimes it feels like a bit of a solitaire deck. You're doing these big turns, all your damage is very vanilla, so you're not necessarily having to play around certain defense reacts because you're relying on things to hit and things like that. So it's a deck that I felt I didn't have to play into very, very many different matchups and know exactly what I was looking for. That being said, I've made a few mistakes through it of when I should be playing Husk versus Ironweave and things like that. So there is definitely some very matchup specific choices that you have to make. So through the tournament, I think through the rounds of Swiss, I played, I think, 3 other chains.
Heavy.
And I think that came down to probably just making a few better choices during the game. So I think I went 2-1 against chain actually.
Okay.
Two of them. The 2 I won, I was reasonably happy with how things went. The one that I lost, we both banished terrible cards, and we just played the worst chain game of all time. So it wasn't great. But I guess with
chain, you've got a lot of known information once the banish is done, but you've also got to have a plan, because you don't get to see that until you've defended. So you've got to have a plan with what you're going to do if the banishes are good or aren't good. How do you like manage that information gap?
So this is I think this is a challenge of the build that I played, and I think there's been a couple of builds floating around recently that are definitely more optimized. We had a few more yellow demigons, blue demigons, and we had a few more blood deck cards that were blue. And you definitely your blocking decisions are definitely a little bit more limited because you have to keep cards in hand. You can sometimes make the decision to block out a turn and accept that your banish is going to be just kind of accruing for your following turn. I've definitely had, I've had a few games where you sit on a plunder run or an Art of War and Arsenal, you block out heavily, and then you wait to get a good banish off the top, you take the hit, and then you come back with just an absolutely explosive turn, and Chain is really able to do those big 20, 25 damage turns just off one Art of War, basically.
Yeah.
So the decision making process, it kind of is looking at what you've got in your banish zone already, the amount that you're going to be banishing, and what's coming in. If it's early in the game, you've got a lot more leeway to block out a lot better. By the time you start getting to 6, 7 shackles, even 5 shackles, you really need to start being on the front foot. Otherwise, you're going to lose the game very quickly.
I think that's a really fair point. And in my personal experience as Katsu versus Chain, it does often come down to those last 2 turns where it's kill or be killed for both players, which is a really interesting spot to be in. And I think the whole meta seems to have shifted to a very much an aggro favoured approach on all sides. The Bravo builds, which you mentioned earlier, and maybe the Fatigue Dash builds. Personally, we haven't seen those so much in our UK meta so far.
Yeah, I do wonder if it's. I'm not sure. Maybe it's that we don't have a lot of. We haven't played a lot of Classic Constructed up here. We've got no one who is settled. We've got no stubborn Bravo players or no stubborn Dash players who they're tuning their builds to beat these things. We've got a very kind of fluid. People want to pick up and play the new toys and kind of figure out what's going to work. So that's quite cool. I generally agree with where people are going. I think the control approach to beating Chain is getting phased out. I think people have figured out that Chain. It's a very boring game to play as well. You don't want to just block out every turn and hope to fatigue and hope to snag. So I think that's going away, and people are trying to go under Chain, trying to pressure them so much that that by the time Chain needs to be on that front foot, they've got very, very little wiggle room to work with.
Just for the listeners at home, as it were, just try and describe how it felt, firstly, to get that Nationals invite getting into the top 4, but then also getting to the final. What did it feel like to sit down against someone playing in the final of the first road to Nationals?
It's been so long. It's been so long since we've had tournaments, and there's so little expectation around how I felt I was going to do going into the day. So to get to the final was absolutely amazing. Exhausting. It's been so long. I've completely forgotten what it's like to play. This was 6 rounds up to 9 rounds of Flesh and Blood, 50 minutes a round up to. So it's a long day. So we're sitting here 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, just kind of we're at the end of our tether. We're just like, let's get this done. So there's elements of elation and exhaustion there. But no, it's an amazing feeling. Amazing. Finbar's a fantastic player, so it's great to sit down and play him in the finals. And yeah, just ecstatic that I came away with the win.
And obviously, Finbar's gone on to do well with the aggro Katsu build that he's been playing. What are you thinking about the UK meta moving forward? What have you seen in other Road to Nationals you've been to, and what are you expecting coming up?
So I think the obvious thing to say, and this is a conversation that I have with players in New Zealand, is that there's players playing certain decks, and you have to respect those decks, because if you want to make it through a top 8, you're probably going to run into a good Katsu player by the name of Finbar.
Yeah.
And if you want to make it through a top 8, you're probably going to run into a good Dory player by the name of Sharif. Yeah. So you have to play something that you are confident that you can go into these matchups and win. It becomes less of necessarily a meta game of what you predict in the field, and more of a meta game of, hey, I know these players, I know they're good, I know they're going to be on these certain decks, and I have to come in ready and bringing my best against them. So Living Rounds is in a couple of weeks, and it'll be fantastic. Hopefully we're up to 64 players there, and we'll have a full ensemble of everyone. So don't know what I'm going to bring. Might be chain, might be something a bit different, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I think, I'm really looking forward to being there, and I think it's definitely the biggest Road to Nationals that we will have had so far. As you said before, the biggest event in Flesh and Blood that we'll have had so far. And I know from their skirmish that Living Realms put on a great event, so I'm really excited to again see you there in a couple of weeks. I think I just want to thank you for your time tonight, Mark, and for all the information you've given us on preparation and your deck for the Road to National season. I'm really interested to see what you bring in a couple of weeks. And again, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us here at Push the Point.
Brilliant. Hey, thank you very much, Simon. It's I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Only 2 weeks to go.
Cheers, buddy. Speak to you soon.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this interview with Steelfur, who is a 2 times winner of Road to Nationals this 2021 season. Steelfur, how is it going? How do you feel with that kind of win, those 2 wins? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm feeling good. Still a bit shocked about how it's kind of fallen. If you talk to like Jason and my friends, I did so badly in the constructed event just before the Road to Nationals that I actually was like, why don't I just go and judge this other event? And I was like, I don't think I can play. What's the point? I'm not going to win. Just let me sign up to the judging team and I'll just spend the day at Darksphere just standing around. And they had already picked a member of their staff to do it, so I was like, okay, well, never mind. I'll just lose and be happy.
But no, you came up and you won it, and I think you mean your record is the first one we did, you came second, and then you came first at Manascrew, which was the next day, and then you had another one where you didn't top cut, and then you came first at Darksphere. So your record is pretty consistent. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing the numbers, and I've basically played 31 games because I missed a round due to the train. So I've got a winning streak from the RTNs of 26 wins and 5 losses across 4 tournaments.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, in retrospect.
So I'm sure people, I know a lot of people will probably know that you've been running aggro Katsu. So I wondered if you could tell us about that and why you chose that hero, how you found it, and was that the hero you've been playing for a long time, or did you switch it up, or just tell us about your sort of decision processes with that.
So where to start? I guess, is it the hero I've been playing for a very long time? Definitely not. Definitely not. I started the game in February as a Kano player for Blitz. That was a lot of fun. Kano was my first hero. I learned the rules very well playing him, had a lot of fun melting people with lava. And then Monarch came out and I got all the cards for Chain and I played him in the pre-release. It was fun, so I thought, okay, I'll play Chain. So then I played Chain Blitz and I switched to Chain CC for the first few events that we were doing. And I mean, you'll have heard this story before, but ultimately I got very frustrated with Chain after sort of the first, well, during the Blitz season and then with the first 2 or 3 CC events we played, I just got very frustrated because I'd be playing very, very well, in my own opinion, you know, playing my turns optimally, not making mistakes, and then I would lose to not getting an Art of War or getting loads of banishes and just not being able to, you know, put the pressure on my opponent because my hand wasn't lining up with the banishes in a way that would actually let me win the game. And that felt very frustrating to me because, I mean, obviously, as you can tell by playing Kano, I've got the sort of brain that likes to look at the pieces available to me and optimize my turn in a way that I feel like I've played the best turn possible. And when your deck is constantly throwing this this curveball at you, like, okay, well, you get these banishes, it feels very much like you can't put the puzzle together, and you can't, you know, find a way to play that optimal turn because it feels more out of your control. Unless you're talking about playing versus control and you've got that late game banish, it feels more out of your control than other people.
It presents you with new information at the start of your turn. But I guess with Katsu, did you find the consistency you were looking for in a hero with Katsu?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to play aggro because I like games that go fast and finish short, like finish quickly. I like having a nice bit of a break in between rounds to chill out. And generally, I like to be the person dictating the flow and speed of the game. So when I decided to stop playing Chain, I had just finished watching the charity tournament where Kieran had been playing Katsu aggro, and I thought that looks kind of fun. And I'd always thought Ninja was quite cool, and I had the stuff for the Ira deck, even though I never really played it. So I thought, let's build that and give it a try. And then that was kind of the start of it, really. I just, after a few games with this, I was like, actually, this is really fun.
Yeah. It's an interesting deck, and I think, you know, it does contrast with Chain. I mean, both decks are relatively aggressive. I guess Chain's probably a little bit more mid-range. But with Katsu, you've got access to that hero ability. And being able to fetch those combo cards seems really key to the consistency that maybe you were looking for.
Well, that is exactly the point. Like, Katsu's consistent. I mean, the thing is, Katsu is consistent in that, depending on how your opponent blocks, you will always have the answer, which I think is very strong from a gameplay perspective, but also very good in terms of a plan perspective. I was talking about this yesterday in the shameless plug for the deck tech video I did on my own channel, about the idea of having 3 plans for the start of your turn on Katsu. You have your ideal plan if your opponent lets damage through and you can trigger Katsu. You have your backup plan, which is what happens if your opponent blocks the first attack and you can't trigger Katsu. And then you have your control plan, what happens if they block everything? What's that backup response? What am I putting in Arsenal? What's going on there to make sure that my next turn has the maximum potential to give me aggro if this turn doesn't? And I think that's a really good way of looking at it. So to give a practical example, because I think that kind of scores it home, you might have a leg tap in your hand. You might have a 0 cost, say, blue Whelming Gust Wave. You might have another blue Just Find Center or something, and you might have a red Whelming Gust Wave, right? So your aggro turn here, you could go pitch the blue, Kadachi, leg tap, Whelming Gust Wave. So that's 1 attack, 4 attack, and 3 attack. That's like your one possible aggro turn available to you, right? Which is not bad. I mean, it's 1, 1, 3, and 4 and 3, so it's 10 damage in total. It's not terrible. Your optimal turn is you Kadachi leg tap, So that means that leg tap has the possibility of getting mask, which will get some blocks. And then, you can set it up so that you just come in with the one from the Whelming Gustwave and Arsenal, the red one. That's good too. But really what you want to do, and I think the optimal play is Kodachi once, come in with the leg tap then, so your opponent doesn't worry about mask, is less likely to block it. Then pitch the blue Whelming Gustwave to get a Rising Knee Thrust. And the Rising Knee Thrust is the mask trigger. And then you can Arsenal the red Whelming Gustwave for next turn. So if you draw a Surging Strike, you've got the combo.
Yeah, and you run 6 of those, so there's a decent chance of picking that up. You've been very open. I mean, you have one too, so perhaps you can be open. But I think you've actually been very open with how the deck is built, and with your strategies and talking these through. You have a YouTube channel that we will link. And do you think if someone's coming to your videos and they're looking at the way you play the deck, looking at your deck list, how easy would it be for them to just pick up this deck and play it? Is it going to take a lot of reps to get to a really high skill level, or can you pick it up and play it to a relatively high standard?
So I've been playing this deck now for about a month, maybe over a month now. I would say I think it takes a lot of reps just to get into good habits with the deck. Like, it is very easy to mess up a combo chain by over pitching or pitching the 0 cost you need to play as the next part of the combo, or fetching the wrong thing, for example. And then there's lots of other stuff like not keeping track of what's left in your deck via your discard pile in terms of making sure you have the cards that you need to fetch and the cards to set up combos, and letting that influence your game plan. I'm not going to say like it's aggro, so at the face of it, it's not a super difficult deck in terms of what your plan is. But I think the main place where people fall down is not knowing their combos and not planning for when they think their opponents are going to block, and also just not playing aggressively enough. I think the biggest mistake people will make with this deck is not looking at their hand and being like, how much damage am I taking this turn and how much damage am I giving back, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, well, I probably should block that, when the answer is maybe you shouldn't.
So let's talk a little bit more about the tournament itself. In terms of, you go to a tournament and you always have it in your head, that you might be able to win it. Stuff happens. Did you expect to go to these tournaments and do so well, or did it come as a surprise to you?
Absolute shock. I tend to fall somewhere just above average in card games. So when I was sitting there and I was in Geek Retreat and I'd somehow lost the first round and then come back undefeated, I was just sitting there a bit like, oh, cool, I'm in the top 8. That's really good. If I can somehow win this game, I can get my invite at the first tournament of the season. And then I did, and then I got to the finals, and it was a close game. And then the next day I was like, well, I almost didn't show up. I can't really take any credit.
Well, you did miss the train, didn't you? And then...
I did miss the train, yeah.
So you missed round 1 for Manascrew, didn't you?
Yes. Well, you talked me into coming. So I was sitting there on the train, ready to go home, and it wasn't leaving the station. And Tripp was like, "Why didn't you just come anyway?" So I got off the train. Yeah, exactly. I got off the train and I got on the other train going back in the other direction because I'd already turned around, and then showed up. So no, didn't expect to win at all. Was kind of just really happy and kind of a bit shocked when I was actually winning, but then I just managed to calm down and be like, well, this game is just another game. I've played a lot of these people already, and let's try and win.
Amazing. So we'll start to wrap up a little bit, but just before we finish up, I just wonder what you sort of think about what do you want to achieve kind of next in Flesh and Blood? I mean, you obviously have your YouTube channel, which is doing very well. You're playing competitively, and that's going very well. What sort of things do you want to kind of achieve in the game now after you've had this success?
Well, obviously I want to go to Nationals and have a good time. We'll see how I get on. It's going to be a very interesting meta. I don't know if Aggro Katsu will still be viable then with Tails coming out. really my main goals at the moment is just to get more people interested, because I run those weekly gaming nights at Rule Zero. I just want to get more people coming along and playing the game. That's a really big goal for me. Obviously, I want my channel to have lots of interesting content and look a bit better. And I'm kind of working on that at the moment with a friend of mine, because I just enjoy talking about the game. So, most people would be like, oh, yeah, my goal is to go to a calling and win it. And, obviously, I'm going to do all that stuff. I'm going to try, but I'm not really so arrogant as to be like, no, I'm going to show up and I'm going to win because I've taken 2 road to nationals. So I'm clearly, one of the, I'm not going down that road. I just really enjoy playing this game. I'd love it if the Tales of Aria heroes were good, if Ranger suddenly turned around and started being a good hero, and the meta shifts massively. And that's kind of why I'm so open when I end up talking about my deck. When I finish playing against my friends at tournaments, I will teach them where I think they went wrong against me or how they can improve against other Katsu players. Because really, the more we talk about where the game is now, so the more we talk about the meta decks that are here now, how to beat them, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, the more we give opportunity for someone creative or sitting at home reading cards to get that spark that says, actually, I think I can build a deck that can beat that. And that's where the really interesting stuff comes in. So if you see me being really open about the decks I'm playing and how I'm winning, that's because I want someone to come up with the really interesting idea that shuts me down, and then someone else to come up with a really interesting idea that shuts them down. I mean, we have what, 9 viable decks at the moment that have won road to nationals. Balance is amazing in this game so far.
Yeah.
And the more we talk about it, the more that has room to grow. So, sorry, that wasn't really a clear goal, but
No, it was a great answer though, and I completely agree with what you're saying as well. I think bringing new players into the game is a really key priority for all of us. But I know you've been doing these armory events for relatively new players. Rule Zero, that's over in Stratford, London, every Wednesday night. If anyone is in that area, feel free to come over. And yeah, I think being open about your deck techs and your strategies is really good at getting people into the game, because they know that they can do some research. Even if they don't have people to play against, they can at least watch these videos, get an idea of what competitive decks look like, and get out there and play. Steelfur, it's been fantastic to talk to you. I'm sure we'll have you on the podcast again in the future. And thanks for coming along and chatting with us today.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome.
I'm humbled to meet with what the community, well, when I say the community, our small little testing group has dubbed the King of the North. But I will have to say that you did win a Midlands tournament. and you did actually win a very, very, very North tournament. So Mr. 2 winner, second time on the podcast, is Shingo.
Hello, thanks for having me again. I will say the nickname is slightly too much, but I do appreciate the sentiment.
I threw a spanner in the works and said, mate, surely he's got to win like Glasgow and Living Realms, and then that'll be the real King of the North. Or everyone will start saying Glasgow's like the wildling area. That don't beyond the wall, right?
Yeah, Glasgow's home turf though, so it should be interesting. Living Realms is gonna be a big scene. It's gonna be a really good tournament. Looking forward to that.
So Living Realms is gonna be absolute fire, man, because we're gonna have like absolute kings like yourself, Finbar, and Mark, who've all the winners that we're interviewing on this episode. And I tell you what, it's actually quite interesting because it's, you would have, when it started off, you seen Mark win the first one, seen Finbar win the second one, and then you win the third one, and then Finbar again wins the fourth one. And now you're back winning the fifth one. I was like, geez, this is not even an even spread. You and Finbar are just in cahoots.
Yeah, right? No, it was definitely crazy because Finbar wins the second one, right? And at this stage, you're like, wow, that's amazing. There's no way that's going to happen to me. And then I just won the second one, and I was just like, wow. I honestly did not expect that. It was a very surreal moment. I was pretty chuffed with both my wins, and both of them felt like a surreal moment. And I'm really happy with it.
Oh mate, it's so cool to see that because like you're the first UK player to hit 1,000 experience, which is we got you on the second episode, and then you hear again, man, like winning 2 Road to Nationals. And I just want to point out as well, right? We recorded last week when he won the Boards and Stores hobby event. And we're like, cool, we're going to talk a lot about that. And then he goes off and wins another bloody tournament. And I'm like, oh my God, this recording's just not going to work. Please come back so we could talk about your double belt win. So, Christ, you need to put Dorinthia away, man. You need to give some other boys a chance.
Well, I am considering putting her away. But I just want to say, when I went to TCC, because I was already qualified, there was very low pressure. So I took a Katsu deck and my Dorinthia deck, and I went to John, great guy at TCC, shout out to John and Chris, and I give John both lists, and I'm like, you pick randomly which deck I'm playing. And he picked Dorinthia. And
oh, man, yeah. So it's John's fault.
Exactly. Blame John.
Well, okay, we're going to go through the questions. So who did you run? I think we covered that, didn't we?
Yep, ran Dorinthia Ironsong. Great hero, highly recommend her.
And how did you prepare for Dorinthia in this meta?
So it's very interesting. I actually did not do as much prep on Dory as I did on Katsu. So this meta started, and we had the charity event hosted by the New Zealand crew and Matt Rogers, right?
Yeah, Card Game Merchant. Yeah.
Card Game Merchant, thank you. And they had it gave us a very interesting early view of the meta. And Aaron Curtis actually went to the finals with a Dory list. And I was really shocked because I always thought the Dory into Prism matchup was a really rough one. He goes to the final and I look at his list and it feels very familiar. It feels like an extension of my Blitz list. So I played a few games with it and it felt, it was very typical to how I would play my Blitz games with a few changes. And so it was a natural progression and I was really happy with how the list played, but I could not sort the Prism matchup. So I dropped the list, started playing Katsu and was getting my Katsu reps, and I was actually quite happy with how Katsu was performing. And then I was just gathering lists from all over the place, right? And I messaged our great and dear Dante, and I'm like, give me a list for Katsu, please. To which he provides me his Dory list. And his Dory list was interesting. He added a few spice here and there, but the key spice was Dusk Path Pilgrimage. So he had changed the list so that you are aiming to hit 3 times in 1 turn, multiple turns. And it builds up this huge amount of combo. You get to build up your counters. It's really huge swing turns. I tried his list into Prism, and I think I lost 3 times. So I wasn't sold on his list, but I did take back that Dusk Path Pilgrimage was amazing. And so I started playing with that idea in my list. So it was a combination of Aaron's list and Dante's spice. And I came up with the list that I have. So it's nice. Dory, and she can go tall, she can go wide, she can hit 3 times with her sword. And that's really all you need in this meta, because a lot of the heroes you're going to play against do not block. If we look at Katsu aggro, he struggles to block. If we look at Shane typically chooses not to block early game. And then Prism, normally it will be aggro Prism, she also chooses not to block. So you're really able to build up that momentum, and most of the time, by the time the other classes go into gear, it's too late.
Yeah. No, that's awesome to hear. It's interesting you say that the Aaron that won the charity event, and you're saying that his Blitz, your deck felt very much like a Blitz deck. I actually had the opportunity to actually play him in that charity event, and he said it is the Blitz deck. It's just got added. It's just the Blitz deck, and I've just padded it out with pretty much the 3rd copy of most of the cards and a few spicy other cards. It's literally the Blitz deck in a bigger version. So yeah,
it felt very familiar. And that helped with the transition. I also, I did forget, I would like to shout out a lot of people that did help me with this deck and testing this deck.
Shout outs, man.
So there's like Dyson, Regular Raccoon, Jake, we have BigMedSi, Simon, we have Hammertron, Jason, we have yourself and Pierce, who were my Bolton guinea pigs, and we have obviously Steelfur, Finbar, who was on Katsu as well. And a lot of other people from the... Yeah, pretty much. And a lot of other people from the online community who, I should actually also mention Bill, who was really nice to share with me his Prism list, and who was one of the reasons I was terrified to bring Dory, because he kept just destroying me on his Prism list.
Yeah, Bill's a cool dude, man. We all like Bill. So so the next thing that I wanted to ask is, did you it's a bit of a weird one. Did you expect to do as well as you did? Generally, I think every person that we say that is goes no, because if they go, yeah, man, of course I was going to win. You know, that's all right, very humble of you. But did you expect to do as well as you did? And maybe the more real question is, you know, where did you feel this deck or your reps or your performance you felt like it would have took you overall, I suppose?
So I did not expect to do as well as I did. I didn't expect to win one, let alone two events.
Of course.
I do think that my reps did carry me, because I felt very comfortable with what the deck is trying to do and how it wants to do it. So, you know, after a while, you see the lines and you know, okay, I'm going to block this, or I want to hold this. This is what's left in my deck. And I knew that was going to carry me somewhat through a lot of the newer players joining in, because Dory had kind of fallen out of favor in the Monarch meta, so a lot of people hadn't really dealt with her. So that actually came into play a lot into Bash. But what really shocked me in TCC is that their crowd was quite established and people had played there for a while. So actually,
really?
Yeah, it was a lot of people that were a lot more familiar with Dory. And yeah, I still am not sure how I went through that gauntlet and came out winning.
Wow. Dory can just do that, can't she? Like, even if you have even if you really do know what you're doing, she can still just give you a hard time.
Yeah, I do think Dustpath Pilgrimage was the saving grace. People are not too familiar with it, so they don't know how much they should respect it. And if you disrespect it, it's just a huge turn, especially if bolters are still on. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It allows the deck to go further. And again, the deck does really well in the meta where no one is really blocking. The main concern with the deck was Bravo, and especially Dyson's mid-range Bravo, who was my loss at TCC. So, yeah.
So was that around one loss at TCC?
No, at TCC it was around 2 loss. Around 1 loss was at Bash.
You've broke. So if people don't know, you may hear it throughout this podcast. I'm not sure, but I'll throw it in anyway. But you may not know that Finbar, the winner, or the guy who's won twice, has lost his first round, and then Shingo went and lost his first round in the Bash event. So now, and also as well, a lot of people who lost their first rounds all ended up making it into the top 8 and even the top 4. So there's this UK theory of drop your first round and you're in the top 8, baby. And you've gone and took that whole theory away. But,
sorry.
Yeah, man, it's all good. I will just end this on one final cheeky question from myself, which is, where do you see Dorinthia overall in this meta, with seeing the likes of Katsu, Chain, Bravo as the because I heard Session Blood just called it the 3 pillars, and I think that's pretty fair. And I do think Dash and Prism are also amongst this, even Bolton, Prism, and Dash are just sort of like very closely behind those things, right? So where do you find Prism fits in this overall thing? Do you think she's underrated, or
I think she was underrated. There is someone else I would like to shout out, which is Sebastian. I would butcher his last name, so I'm not going to attempt it. But he literally just won the ENTCG Road to Nats on Dory as well. So nice. I think people were worried of the Dory Prism matchup, right? However, Prism is turning out to be a bit of a double-edged sword, where she's not converting as much as we thought she was going to do. And that means that if you manage to dodge Prism early on in the tourney, you have a strong chance with Dory, because she does really well in aggro Katsu. She has an interesting matchup in Chain, But then again, Chain has the same thing with everyone, right? It depends on their banishes.
You can just blow anyone out, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? If Chain banishes well, Dory can't do anything against that. And then there's Bravo, which I still haven't landed exactly where the matchup stays. Because I feel like she can do well against a control Bravo because some of her 3-time hits going wide tricks. But mid-range Bravo she really struggles with. So Bravo is a bit of that question mark. But I feel like Bravo is one of those decks that people need a lot more reps on than they realize. So to go against a very strong Bravo it's not as common as going against strong chains when you have 20 chains in an event, or
absolutely.
Even strong Katsu. So yeah, I think she was underrated. I think she's coming on people's radars. I don't think I want to say she should be one of the main pillars, but I don't think so. She is just slightly behind.
Sure. Well, honestly, thank you, Shingo. Thank you so much for joining in. Is there anything you want to sign off on before we skedaddle?
No, thanks again for having me. And to everyone that I met or to anyone that I forgot to shout out, thanks for playing with me. Thanks for the games. It was a lot of fun. And hopefully I'll see you at Living Realms. I'll see you at Glasgow Road to Nats. And I'll see you at Nats.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. I just had my son hugging me.
We're still recording. We're doing a bit.
I thought that was super cute, by the way. That was bedtime to the boy.
Thank you, everyone.
I was trying to be professional.
I just kindly tell my son to go away.
Yeah,
good night. And then someone goes, "That's so cute. Get off me."
Does he not know we're recording a podcast here? So
yeah, we're recording a podcast. Do you want love from me now? Look at the time.
It's fucking podcast time.
It's fucking podcast, mate. Get out.
Before we get Hamish in trouble for
what we were saying,
social services.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna get me for that.
They ain't getting him.
Hey, they had to catch me first. Where's your evidence?
I don't know if
listen to episode 10. Get the views up.
I think that's the first time we've mentioned this is episode 10, by the way, everyone. We are super psyched to be on episode 10.
This is our 10th birthday. It is actually pretty impressive. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are for podcasts, but I think most of them die after 1 or 2 episodes. But we really enjoy doing this, and we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going because people seem to really like it.
I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the grapevine in the last couple of days, but there may have been a couple of cards spoiled for the new set Tales of Aria.
I know.
I did see these cards. They actually look pretty interesting. I think LSS have done the classic thing again, where they release cards with keywords that we have no idea what they actually do. So there's this thing called a frostbite token. Is that correct?
There's a frostbite token, and then there's a keyword fused,
which we don't know what that does either. But we're a flesh and blood content creators, so we're going to sit here and we're going to speculate about these cards as much as we can.
By the time we get this out, they'll probably have the answer solved.
Yeah, but we're going to pretend that we know.
With Lexi Livewire, which doesn't really sound like a flesh and blood hero.
Lexi Livewire sounds like she's a 20s showgirl who's ready to make it in the city, and I'm here for it. I absolutely
that sounds like an actor you'd see in Fake Taxi.
Yeah, I feel like Lexi Livewire. I don't know.
Got him.
I don't
know. You don't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I love that joke. Do you know why I love that joke? Because it literally tells everyone, yeah, you've watched it.
I didn't actually hear what you said.
I said that's a girl that you would see in Fake Taxi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you all know it. You all know, all you lads sitting there chuckling to yourselves.
Lads.
Lads. Fake Taxi, Lexi Livewire. Come on, girl, you do it. Dominate.
Do we need to?
Sounds electric.
I think we need to. I think we need to clap again, don't we?
No, I don't know.
All you've had is a small amount of Southern Comfort and a bit of
the
appetizer.
That's
the sugar.
Electric.
It's gone to his head. So I think the interesting thing so far
about
is
Lexi Livewire
is she is an elemental ranger.
Yeah,
and she has essence of lightning and ice. And we've also had another card, Weave Lightning, which mentions elemental cards and lightning cards as two distinct entities. So is the talent elemental? Are there multiple talents?
Yeah, I missed that. I missed that a little. I missed that bus. What was that about? Because I heard one of the guys in the testing group was mentioning, oh, there's 4 talents, and I'm like,
yeah.
No, there ain't. There's 1. It's elemental, but I didn't quite get it. I missed the boat.
So Weave Lightning is the 3rd card that was revealed, and it is a lightning action. So it's a lightning card, but it says the next lightning or elemental attack action card you play this turn gains +3. If it's fused, it gains go again. So that's named lightning and elemental as separate entities, and given us the keyword fused.
Has it got it in the text on the bit on the bottom? You know, when you see attack action, non-attack action.
It just says lightning action.
Yeah, I don't see this as a.
So my theory is that the talent is elemental, or it has got to be at least elemental, but there are subsets. So you've got lightning, ice, and probably one other. But the elemental cards are like a generic version of that talent card. So like we have class cards and generics, maybe we have talent cards and generics.
Really interesting to see how that ends up panning out. But we've got a little bit of a wait. I think it's the 2nd of September is when we're going to start seeing more stuff. But then we've got the calling in the
New
American
Zealand?
callings.
Yeah, they're going to we're going to see all the cards.
We're going to see.
We're going to see it all.
We're going to see a very sort of natural spoiler cycle where people will just be opening packs at events, and we're going to see all these cards. We kind of got near the end of Monarch where there was events and we were seeing cards that we still hadn't had spoiled, which is pretty fun. And we'll probably know the Fabled relatively quickly as well, which is something we don't normally get to know.
That's probably because you're going to open it, Dan. So
well, I'll try my very best. But I don't know about you guys. I'm very, very much looking forward to pre-release. I've got 4 lined up, and 3 of them are in London, which is amazing. So it means I don't have to travel across the country for a change to do the events, and it makes me really happy that London is London's been a little bit slow to pick up on the game, but we've got some really good stores now who are pushing the game, and some really dedicated fans, including employees of the stores who are fans, and other people who are fans who are pushing the game in London. So that's really good for me. But I can't wait to open some tales. I have a real soft spot for sealed because I played a lot of it, and I travelled around playing sealed Monarch a lot, and I enjoy it. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and it's a bit random, but I think it's quite a fun thing to do. If you don't take it too seriously, it's just a bit of a laugh. And
if I was at home that weekend, I would be going to 3 or 4 pre-releases, and unfortunately I have a family event that weekend, so I will be lucky enough to get to 1 pre-release, which is a real shame because, like you, I love sealed. I think it's a great format for casual play, especially.
Yeah, especially for casual play. And new players as well.
Exactly.
I think it's quite nice.
And it's a great way to open some cards for the new set right at the beginning. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to my 1, which I've signed up for at Underworld Games in Nottingham. I know Bash are having one the next day, and there is a Geek Retreat in Nottingham having one on the Sunday. So there is a natural 3 pre-release schedule over that weekend. But yeah, I'll be away seeing family, and family is important, so I won't be too unhappy about
that.
Liar. No comment.
No.
Don't just play Fab all day, boys and girls. Spend some time with your friends and stuff. But when your friends play Fab, it's not too bad. That's what I always say.
Yeah, man. Right, is that everything?
Yeah, that was a pretty tidy podcast. We've wrapped it up pretty nicely. I mean, there's still tons to edit for Hamish, but we're pretty much bang on the hour mark with the audio. We only have to edit out about 45 minutes for the actual interviews.
I'm so glad that I picked up this Carlsberg because I reckon I would have been a blob.
Is it treating you much better than the
Comfortiser is
not the one.
It's not comforting. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's been 10 episodes. We've really been enjoying doing this podcast. It's been amazing to see how many people are listening. You know, we're averaging sort of 350 listens on on the Spotify and Apple
We love
Music
you
thing,
guys,
and we're
honestly.
getting hundreds of views on the YouTube, and we're just going to keep cracking on and just keep making the podcast because we all enjoy making it, and I hope you all enjoy listening to it. So more to come. We've got some road to nationals left. We've obviously got nationals coming up. We'll be doing stuff around that. But yeah, it's just been great, hasn't it?
Yeah. Simon loves it too.
I genuinely look forward to the times when we
Sorry,
can...
the dramatic pause
Yeah,
was great.
sitting there going, oh, think of something.
I don't think it quite works on podcasts, but for us, we were like, wow, yeah, it's really powerful. For everyone else, it's like,
You've ruined it. You've ruined it. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Bye bye.